we're gonna show you step by step how to replace the starter. So here are the tools that we need: 12 and 14 millimeter wrench, the extensions, 3/8 ratchet, a flashlight, and sockets, and the impact gun to speed up the job. Okay, right now we are going to grab the 10 millimeter. Usually you just use basic tools for doing almost any job in these Hondas. So we are going to remove the 10 millimeter bolts, and we are going to put this by the side. Now we set it up here. So we gotta remove the manifold. Okay, this is 12 millimeter bolts that we have to remove to the manifold, and this one we're gonna take it out, and we are going to need the gasket for that. And here is the starter. Highly recommend you to use a Denso brand. You can always do your research. And we have to unhook the battery. In this case, I'm just gonna unhook the negative. Make sure when you unhook the battery that you have the code ready for your stereo. This stereo has codes, so make sure you have the codes, or also you can buy a battery saver which you connect to the OBD2, which is around here, right there. It's over there. You can buy the tool through Amazon for like $15 to $20. I will show you the picture, okay, in the video, so that way when you unhook the battery you don't have to have the code. You won't lose the memory, you know, for the time. Now before removing the intake manifold bolts, we're gonna make some space here. We have to remove this dog. There is a Phillips screwdriver here, or a 8 millimeter, whatever tool you use, it both works. So let's remove that. It's a 10 millimeter. Put this by this side, and then I'm going to remove this one too. You have to like completely remove it, just kind of make it loose. That way we can pull this, and be careful with this piece because this piece can break easily if you pull on this too hard. Now I'm going to remove this with pliers. Remove this. I already removed it. It's just one, and then it has another one right here that I'm going to remove also with the pliers. I already removed it, and then this one can be out of my way. You see I got more space here now. Now I'm going to remove this hose right here, and then after I'm going to remove this bracket which is held by a 10 millimeter. Now I'm going,
I don't have an account.
yep, now I'm going to remove the 10 millimeter socket. Now the bracket is out of the way, and I'm going to remove this cable right here that is holding with this bracket. Cable is removed. It's just a pin that you kind of press on the pin with the pliers, and then you disconnect this sensor. And there is another clip here too that I have to remove. Now next I'm going to remove the 12 millimeter bolts. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in total, and I'm going to use the long socket with a ratchet like this.
This is the engine, right?
I already removed the 5 bolts on the upper side of the intake manifold, and I'm just gonna seat these bolts right here, make sure I don't lose this. And then if you see it, when I move the manifold, you can see it's moving a little bit, but something is holding it, and what is holding it is a bolt that is under, and it's going to be a 12 millimeter, and I will show you where it is. So you have to go under the car, and then with a 12 millimeter wrench you will remove it. I forgot that I have to meet another person, and you can see it over there. There is a bracket. Sorry guys for the delay. And there it is, this one right here. So you gotta remove that ball. It's a bracket which holds the intake manifold with the block of the car, and just remove it, and then you're gonna see the difference. You're gonna be able to move that manifold. So let's remove it. And this is the ball. I'm also gonna put it right here, and now you will see how it moves from the upper part. You see it move more now. So now that I removed the ball in the bottom, you can see I have more space. So what I also did here is I removed the hose here, which it has some coolant. So very carefully remove it. It won't leak much if the car is cold. It barely leak some coolant. You know, you have to use the pliers here, and then you have to remove this hose here from the throttle body, and then you're going to remove the 4 12 millimeter bolts from the throttle body. And I also highly recommend you to buy that gasket for the throttle body. And the reason I'm doing that is because I want to get the most space I can just to remove this piece of the intake, so I don't have to remove more stuff like this front part of the radiator where they recommend you to do at the dealer. Okay.
What's wrong with their car?
Yeah, so you remove the 4 bolts, and then as you see, you can put the throttle body by the side, and then you're gonna have more space to remove this whole manifold. So I'm going to try to remove the manifold now, and which this allow for the part is to make more space. Next, I'm going to remove these clips right here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 clips, and then I'm going to remove the 10 millimeter here. I know you're gonna need a tool. I already kind of remove it a little bit so it's easier for the video. Make sure you remove it carefully because these clips are plastic and they are easy to break. After removing the clips, this plastic just pops up. And then we are going to remove all the 10 millimeters bolts here so we can remove this part, and then we're gonna have more space to remove the manifold.
Yeah.
So I just removed the bolts here. There is other bolts here with a bracket, and I removed 3 bolts from this bracket right here. That's the bracket that I removed from here, as you see it.
Yeah.
So I just removed the bolts here. There is other bolts here with a bracket, and I removed 3 bolts from this bracket right here. That's the bracket that I removed from here, as you see it. I'm removing the last ball, and then I have to remove the clips right here. So what I'm gonna do is just with the pliers, I'm going to press in and you will see that goes inside. There you go, very easy to do. And now we have to remove more balls right here. Now I'm going to remove this 10mm ball for the bottle and the 10mm ball for this fan and unhook this wire just to make more space. And if you see, once I remove this one I just kind of pull it very gentle back, and I don't need to fully remove it. I'm just going to do that to create this much space here, like a half of inch, so the intake manifold can go out for this one. So after I remove the bolts, you just leave the radiator fan. It comes out very easy. And then once you do that, you're gonna see more space here. Under this part of the manifold, there is some wire that are holding a bracket, something similar to here where I'm pointing. So make sure from underneath you remove it. That way you can pull out the intake manifold. Right now we're gonna try to remove it. Or the last time what I did is I just kind of bent it, like kind of move it by the side so I can work on the starter. So let's see how it goes right now. So if you see, guys, I was able to pull it out from here, and then this is out. So I didn't have to remove all this fan or the bracket here. You know, I just kind of push it down. You maybe have to kind of press this. Don't be scared like it's not going to break or something. And then that's another reason why I removed the throttle body. I think it's possible also to remove it with the throttle body, but I think it's also a good idea to remove it and replace this gasket. You know, this gasket is old and it costs like a few dollars, and I have tons of space to work in the car. And for other people who wants to do more job in this car, like if it was my car but looks like somebody replaced this before, there is this housing here with this pipe and this hose that also is a good idea to replace when removing the intake, because it's easier to replace it, especially this pipe. They break a lot, and this housing right here, but in this case it looks like somebody replaced it before. This car definitely had an overheating problem before. I can see the fans are new, the radiator, the hoses with a new clamp. And now here is the starter. We are going to remove this cable clip here. This one I'm gonna move it by the side. Okay, so here is the starter. So we press on this tab to remove this wire. That's the wire that we earlier checked, remember, for the positive. And then you remove this 12mm nut. I already loosened it a little bit so you guys can see that it's kind of tricky to fit a branch there, but it is possible. You know, you remove the clip here and then you press on this tab and pull on this. Another tip, guys, on the hose that I removed here for the coolant, I put a bolt so it won't leak, because it was leaking a little bit more. And then this is a 17mm ball that you have to remove. I already loosened it too. Sometimes this one or the other ball, which is a long ball, you can see it right here. Let's give it a light over there. I don't know if you guys can see that ball over there. It's a long ball. That one can be really tight. So what I like of doing the job like this is because you are giving this clearance here, you can install the ratchet here and this ball, you see. And since the fan is not there anymore, you're gonna have more room to remove it. And then if it gets really hard, what I do is I kind of hold it there and I use the handle of the floor jack to make this longer and pull. never had a problem with these bolts when I'm doing this. So now this is loose, and then with this cable out of my way, it's gonna be easier to remove this. So I'm gonna remove those two bolts, and the starter should come out, and we're gonna install the new one.
Daytona Beach, I went when they were doing that.
Yeah. So now the other bolt is a 40 millimeter. Sorry about that. And like I said, removing the fan and having not this space, it makes a huge difference. So I'm gonna remove it.
So much money on just a soccer team.
Exactly. So now I'm removing the bolt. So this is a 17 and the other one is a 40 millimeter. Here it is. And the starter, the new board. I already installed a new starter. It was really easy, and I noticed that I didn't really have to remove the hose for the coolant, because you know the throttle bar is staying there. So as long as you remove the 4 bolts and just one of these hoses, it's okay. But the coolant you don't have to, which is nice because you don't have to worry about the coolant. You know, in conclusion, removing this and moving it front makes a huge difference, makes room. Removing the bolts, and it's a good idea because you replace the gasket too. And now we are going to install the intake manifold back, and we're gonna use this brake cleaner to clean the surface with a rag, and also we're gonna clean it here. And here is our gasket. It comes 2 gaskets, but we are going to use just one. Part number from AutoZone, auto part MS96473. Okay, and the starter at AutoZone 2 19459. 19459. This is a Duralast. They have also a new one which is Duralast Gold. This is a rebuild one. Like I say, there is many different choices. You know, always the original, the OEM is the best. You can get them. So this one I got it because it has a lifetime warranty, and I already installed a few of this brand before, and I never had a problem. So now we're gonna clean this and install it back. So I already installed the gasket, and it's nice that it has these studs because it holds it in place. And when I was removing the intake manifold, I wanted to show you guys that, you know, it's like this. So this is the bracket with the 12 millimeter bolt that I removed in the bottom. I don't know if you guys remember that. And when you are trying to pull it out, and if you feel like it's not going out, it's because right here in this bracket there are 2 cables, and the cables has clips. Actually there is 3, 1, 2, 3, and those 3 make it like a stack. So you're gonna go under and you're gonna kind of pull, you know, on the cables. I want to show you the wires. The wires is like this is the wires. Look guys, these 2 wires, this is what is in that bracket. So you gotta kind of press on this one to just remove it. Okay, those are the 2 wires, and this is the other part. So just wanted to let you know that if you're having troubles to take it out. Okay, and I have to go around down the street to get this gasket. You know, it's better that you replace it. Now we're gonna install this back. Just be careful with this when you're installing it to don't hit the radiator. Okay, be careful with that. You can always remove these 2 from the bottom, now that I think about, and both bolts, so you don't have to fight with it, and you don't really have to fight with these 2. That's another thing I can try next time. Remove this bolt with a extension from under the car, and this 12 millimeter, this one goes out. You don't have to worry at all about this, which I will definitely do next time. Now, okay guys, now I installed the bolts and we're gonna torque it. And before tying the bolts, you know, right now we just guide the bolts. It would be a good idea to install also or guide the bolt in the bottom where the bracket is, so that way all the bolts can go evenly. And I will show the foot pounds if you guys want to torque these bolts. Okay. Okay guys, so I already installed this part. It fit perfectly fine with no problems. When you install this part, if by any chance you have kind of a hard time to close the hood, which it can happen, but the chances are low, you just kind of play with the ball, because this one, when you put before installing the bolts, you can kind of move it left and right, up and down a little bit, but you can always guide by the marks that the bolts make, and then you should be able to close it with no problems. But if you do have a hard time to close it, just lose this ball and move it a little bit until the hood closes fine. Okay, I already tried and everything is closing fine. I will go again through everything, you know, like this one, you see I have to move it a little bit because it was kind of hitting in this part of the cloud. Now I just gonna move it back a little bit more. That's something that I just noticed right now. That's very important to do when you're fixing a car, just to make sure you double check everything, you know. There you go. And you see hose is here in the bracket, clamps is tight, battery is connected. You know, like in this case, when I did the job, if you guys notice, I didn't disconnect the battery, but I highly recommend you to do it. It's because I was really careful with the positive cable when I remove it, because I didn't want the memory to be lost in the car. But that's just because I recommend you guys to disconnect the battery. Okay, all right, so everything looks good. Add some coolant, and then we're going to start the engine. And after installing the plastic, the coolant, just cleaning a little bit where I wore, you know, making these plastics shiny, removing some dust here so the job looks cleaner. It's always good also to have a good organization and cleaning of. Okay guys, moment of truth. We're going to start the car, and starts fine and strong. There we go. Hope you guys like it. See you next Honda Element video.